Welcome to Mr. Straer's World History class. Today we'll be examining Unit 6 from 1750 to 1900, covering industrialization and imperialism and how they're connected. We'll analyze Western civilization's attempt to achieve hegemony, particularly Western Europe and the United States in this section. Let's start off by investigating imperialism and the types of colonies and factors that aided in Western domination. Western imperialism, when we think about that, we think of basically the idea of strengthening a country's power through collecting resources and controlling territories of areas outside their own country, bringing those raw materials back to places like England and France, later on Germany and the United States. And that would bring huge amounts of profitability to those countries. In the 19th century, we see one particular aspect that'll benefit the West in attempting to achieve hegemony, and that's the Industrial Revolution. And this begins, of course, in Great Britain with the coal mining industry and the development of steam power. Um, as a result of the Industrial Revolution, we start seeing European nations compete for raw materials and also the development of new technology to power their mechanized industries and provide new systems of transportation to get those raw materials back and forth. Rivalries we see occur throughout the world, particularly in the non Western territories between European nations. A good example of that is the 7 Years' War between France and Great Britain over the control of North America. But we're going to be focusing on, in this unit, particularly the Indian subcontinent and Africa. One of the things that we must be aware of is the types of colonies that existed. We have the tropical dependency, in which it took only a few Europeans to rule the indigenous people. Examples of this would be the Congo in Africa, or India in Asia, and Java in the South Pacific. And these were usually used in what was called indirect method of rule, in which you would either have a puppet uh, in power, in which would do your bidding in exchange of goods, finished goods, particularly guns would be one of those areas that would interest these foreign countries in order to maintain control over their regions. Another type of colony are the settlement colonies, and these are white dominions or dominated countries in which had an indigenous culture there, but they were often very primitive, like the Aborigines in Australia. They had very little as far as technological development and can easily be overwhelmed by the European advancements. And then there's the contested colonies, and these could be found in places like New Zealand and South Africa and Hawaii, and where you had a large European population that lived among an even greater number of indigenous people, and these people were reluctant to assimilate to Western cultures. And oftentimes these led to huge clashes.